Hey there, Captains. It's Reem again. We're going to make this another episode of Thank GAR. It's Friday, and we're going to be talking about my fleet for the Vassal World Cup. Uh, Swiss rounds have finished up, and I'm not making it any further, so I thought I'd go ahead and just talk about the fleet, um, my thoughts on it, um, strengths, weaknesses, pros, cons, things like that, in case people were interested. Um, so that we will go through it. Just to point off, we're at 395 points here, so there is room to change things around. I will say I did intentionally come in at 395 because bidding to go first. This is a fleet that I think, really prefers to go first, so having the bid to do that um, is important. And in fact, I don't think I played any of my objectives between pods and Swiss. I don't think anybody had a lower bid than me. I don't remember anybody that did, so I was first in all the games that I can recall. But going through the fleet, we got the tank here. We got the Venator II, Clone Captain Zak, Veteran Gunners, SPHA-T, Electronic Countermeasures, External Racks, Link Turbolaser Towers, and Tranquility. So this ship is meant to just get right into the thick of it. It has ECMs to block or negate really big attacks. Tranquility to help with a series of small attacks. SPHA-T really makes it so that the ship gets ahead and gets forward. Its side arcs can be really punishing as well. If you get a nice little front side double arc into an enemy ship, you're playing first with a SPHA-T shot and a front shot at close. It's just devastating. We have a Venator I with Bale, Organa, GAllia, boarding troopers, Intensify Firepower, external racks, Link Turbolaser Towers, and the Resolute title. GAllia is here to kind of do a pseudo Tranquility thing. It actually works fairly well if your redirect gets locked and stuff. It's just another way to move stuff around or not have to burn the redirects. We also have boarding troopers. This is here because I have 3 squadron. So it really dissuades people from coming in close to me. So like diving the bale isn't always the best idea because I can tank at least 1 round usually with GAllia and just the shields and hull of the ship. So I'll get boarding troopers off. We have external racks here to have 1 turn of extra damage. And Resolute is here because Bale Organa, if I resolve his engineering dials with Resolute, I get the tokens back, which is great. And also, as we get further down, I only have 1 munitions resupply, so pulling con fire tokens off to power Intensify later on in the match is really important. And Intensify is very important as well. Just with the amount of attacks I get, it's making sure that all of them are at least somewhat relevant, especially with large dice pools. That helps fix any dice you might need, and it helps with your salvos on both the Venators. Just very important. Also we'll get down to these two. These 2 Peltas, actually, if you're fighting something big and beefy like an ISD or a SSD, a large or a very large base, getting all the chip damage you can in. It's very important. So if you get like double arcs with the Peltas, just making sure that you're at least getting like a damage and then a damage and a damage and a damage is just super important. Too often without any dice fixing in the fleet, I had it where you like roll and it's like a blank and an accuracy or 2 blanks and a blank out the side, and it's just terrible. So Intensify is here to fix that. We have Hondo Ohnaka in the fleet, so that we can get the squadron command or the squadron token for boarding troopers. And generally, Honda also gave a con fire to the other Venator, but could also be used for a navigate or repair or something of that nature. So in general, the overall goal of the fleet here is, I guess we will go through the objectives as well. We have surprise attack, contested outposts, dangerous territory. These two here are just in case if I'm going second, I at least want an idea where people are going to be. And surprise attack and contested both do this because they're going to be coming at me, which is ideal for contested. And surprise attack, I at least know where they start, and I can maybe mess with them a bit with nav commands and prevent them from getting away as well. Dangerous territory, it could be Doom Station. I just put it in there so that obstacles wouldn't be too much of a hassle for me, hoping that random people would land on it. In all honesty, this should be Doom Station just because if you go against someone who's playing Rebels and they have Jaina's Light, it's really easy for them to just flip this on you. So this is probably a liability, should be changed, but it never came up for me. So now that we've seen the fleet in total, just talking about some of the strategies that you do with this is, like I said, Tranquility, you want to be going first. And the Peltas and the Venators, the 4 activations here are very important. I won't drop an activation for any squads or anything. Because the first couple rounds you can kind of delay with the Peltas as your first 2 activations to see where the enemy's going. And ideally, the plan is you delay with the Peltas as long as you can until you see some ship that's important in their fleet. Especially if you're out activated by, like, they have 5 or 6 ships, MSU. You wait until one of their combat ships has navigated and is in a position, and then you go in with the Venator II. You use a Bale nav dial. That's why I really like Bale here, is that way you can be con-firing. You don't have to worry about what turns you need to switch from nav to engineering. It's all kind of taken care of. You take that Bale nav dial and you just line it up and you try and get that double arc in, or you get like the front arc on a good target and you get the side arc on a good target with the SPHA-Ts. And you just set up for a kill. The Venator I, if it hasn't gone already, can fly in as well and try and block a large or a medium from jumping the arc after this Venator activates. So try and like box it in. Also boarding troopers. And if it so happens, this one can, the Venator I can also go first, and boarding troopers, but I generally find that Tranquility going first is ideal. You just say, if you do spend the tokens, I'm going to get rid of them when when the next Venator activates. So it really makes people think if they're going to spend tokens or not on this attack. For the ordnance upgrades, external racks is very important as well. I'd say the entire premise of this fleet, like I said, is you go in, you pick one target. Especially this fleet also especially wants to fight medium and large based enemy fleets. So you do the kill box setup with the Venators, and then you use the external racks and your SPHA-Ts and your boarding troopers to just try and burst down a large target in like a round and a half or an activation and a half, so that you get that firepower advantage. I'd say that Venators are underpowered compared to most, or undergunned to most larges, but they are probably some of the tankiest larges. So you use the external racks, you leverage them along with SPHA-Ts, Intensify for your dice fixing, and you just try and kill a large or a medium, and you gain that little bit of advantage. Then you lean into the tankiness of your fleet to just stay alive and to not have them be able to trade back on you and kill one of your larges. And then you just kind of keep repeating the process. The SPHA-T gives you some reach, so even when you go first with this Venator to kill that large or that medium, the SPHA-T makes it so that you can kind of figure out where ships are probably going to end up at the end of the round, and you can just create a giant zone of threat. SPHA-Ts are especially good at killing like smalls in a single shot. So setting up where they may fly, or just even like crippling mediums, very good. And then at that point, when these are going first, these are your first two activations, these then become your final two, and they can heal, keep stuff up, get the chip damage in. It's really nice. If these two have gone and the enemy is still alive, they're probably out of tokens, so then all of a sudden, you get this little chip damage in, you get a crit in from a Pelta, and they've already lost their contain, or they don't have any tokens to mitigate it, and they're starting to take critical effects, very powerful, and the projection experts are just helping keep ships alive. And also, they're slower, so they're like cutting off where the enemy is going to be flying. Just super, super devastating. A lot of my big wins came that way. And that's obviously the strength of this fleet. When I was designing it, I have a checklist of the enemy fleets in my head that I'm like, I gotta kind of build for. So one of them is like a Starhawk, Farmhawk. Plan here is, kill the Hawk with this. ISD-2 and some other tanky Imperial fleets. Same plan, try and kill that with this. Against GAR squads, go ahead and kill their carrier, like their Venator II, whatever they're using as a carrier. Separatists are probably some of the hardest matchups. This can kill Providences and Recusants fairly well. Recusants, if they don't kill them, can actually jump over your kill boxes, which is super annoying. And also, they're the other faction that gets thermal shields. Thermal shields are very annoying for SPHA-Ts. That's another reason that boarding trooper is super important. It makes it so that if they thermal shields your first Venator here, if the second one goes, you can burn the thermals, and the munificence can just melt under your firepower. The greatest weakness to this fleet is probably actually what I kind of ended up fighting the last two rounds of Swiss, is like 134 points of squad, where most of it is rogue. The Peltas can get chip damage down from squads. It's probably not really efficient to kill them, because it'll take like 2.5 rounds, 2 rounds of like YT 2400s to kill a Pelta, depending on what their aces are. But those squads definitely aren't killing these ships for the most part. And if you're flying 134 with MSU, if I just manage to kill a CR90 that's like 50 points, and these are 54 points, you're going to get out a little bit of a lead. The other problem with rogues is I do have a lot of flak in this fleet, especially with the LTTs. But rogues give people the option to shoot you and then fly out of flak. They're not just stuck hanging there. If you're going against a carrier, if you kill the carrier, people are going to be stuck in the position of, well, do I just bomb you? Or do I fly my ships ahead of you so that you land on me, but then I'm going to be in flak range? And you can actually flak squads to death, but with the rogues, there's no carrier to kill. They just kind of duck and weave around you, and you have nothing to lock down their squads. So if you do get like a YT 2400 down to like 2 hull, they'll just fly it away. So generally, when I did kill squads, it was because they really, really, really needed to get like the last damage to kill a Pelta in. So it stayed in when it should have flew out, which is reasonable. Trading a YT for a Pelta makes total sense. Or it's at like 4 health, and the Link Turbolaser towers focus fire managed to kill it. So that's probably the great Achilles heel. Otherwise, SPHA-Ts can kind of help mitigate that, because like I said, they can kill smalls and flotillas, especially with Intensify and veteran gunners. But other than that, it has a bunch of favorable matchups. I definitely would recommend, if you're flying guard, give us a try, see what you think. Like I said, there's a lot of points that you can play with yet. There's some upgrades you can move around. I throw Captain Zak in. I generally don't play with him a lot, but after this tournament showing, I'm really liking him. Generally, I'd put like expert shield text with Tranquility to use that redirect. But the extra dice was very key in killing smalls with SPHA-Ts. If you need to kill a CR90, you need 3 accuracies and 6 damage. Uh, so having an Axis with a Confire and Zak, you have a chance of doing that if you can get the black dice on them, or if they're already kind of chip damaged and losing some shields, you can kill CR90s. Extra dice to try and kill, flotillas if you didn't get the accuracies. In a pinch, Zak can also be used to add dice to flak. So if you really need to kill Merrick, or some other bomber, Vader maybe, you can link Turbolaser Tower and clone Captain Zak, kill them. But all in all, I found it to be a very robust fleet. It's very tanky. I hardly ever lost the Venators for free. A couple times I traded with an enemy large, and in that case it's generally a somewhat favorable trade. Losing Bale early is probably the biggest threat here. I think fighting something like Akbar would also be a problem because the smalls, if they bring like a CR90 Akbar, would really swarm this, and I couldn't kill smalls fast enough. Yeah. So those are kind of my thoughts on the fleet in general with Bale. Um, this archetype of 2 Venators, 2 Peltas is getting somewhat popular in GAR. I think you'll see a lot more of it. Bale, I think, is best because it allows you to navigate and engineer when needed, and you can confire for extra damage. Luminar and Tarkin are both basically forcing you to nav and engineer. So you're missing out on a little bit of damage that you could be getting from confires, potentially doing needless navigates or engineering. But you should look out for those as well. They have their plus and minuses as well. Luminara negates the problem of squads, at least with the Venators, because expert shield techs definitely make it so that, and even if you have room for expert shield techs on the Peltas, they negate those rogue balls quite nicely. And Tarkin just allows you to get another SPHA-T on the other Venator, as well as Intensify if you want, or what have you. So you'll be seeing more of this archetype. This gives you an idea of how I flew it, what I thought some of its weaknesses were. Never go for Tranquility, it's a trap. Always could go for the not Tranquility Venator, especially if it's a Ven 1 without the defensive upgrade. It will melt a lot faster than you think. Your opponent has to play it somewhat cagey, which is hard when it's a red-black or ship that wants to get in close, but also doesn't want to get in close. So that's my thought. Let me know if you have any questions. If there's anything about the fleet you'd like to know more about, or changes that you think should be made. But until the next video, you all have a good one.